When Nancy Drew Stay Tuned for Danger first released in November 1999, it received generally favorable reviews, with Adventure Gamer calling it a real treat, and the Review Zone describing it as the best interactive mystery for girls yet. It earned a Parents' Choice Gold Award, with their reviews stating, "The animations and 3D sets are feasts for the eye, rich, compelling, and at times as realistic as photographs." Even 63-year-old Norma Jenkins from Albuquerque found the game exciting. However, Stay Tuned for Danger has since gained a more mixed reputation for the ease with which you can softlock yourself, its lack of interactivity, and having obtuse puzzles. Remember when you have to press a random person's call button to gain access to a building? I sure hope you do, because if not, you'll probably be stuck in this game indefinitely. And yes, all these things are true, but despite all this, I believe Stay Tuned for Danger is a great game, which is sometimes misunderstood. So I'm here today to girl-splain Nancy Drew Stay Tuned for Danger for you. First, some background. Stay Tuned for Danger is the second Nancy Drew game and is based on the Nancy Drew Files book of the same name, originally published in 1987. Notably, it is the first game in the series to have 3D character models. I would describe these models as having a sort of rugged charm, which can be disconcerting to first-time players, especially when contrasted with real human beings. Yes, they do look like they're made of Play-Doh. Don't worry about it. At the start of the game, Nancy is asked to come to New York City at the behest of Maddie Jensen, soap opera star and friend of Nancy's Aunt Eloise. Maddie wants Nancy to check up on her co-star and ex-boyfriend, Rick Arlen, who's either the victim of death threats or just plain old-fashioned bad luck if you ask Rick. Aw, beans, looks like someone accidentally sent me poisoned chocolates which spell out, "Die, Rick." Just my luck. But are these threats legitimate? If so, who is behind them? To solve the case, Nancy must integrate herself into the strange and treacherous world of daytime TV, talking to larger-than-life personalities and searching for clues. This game has far more characters than most Nancy Drew games, each of whom feels distinct and unique. For context, the average Nancy Drew game has 4 characters, while this game has 7, almost double that amount. The first person you meet is Maddie, who is surprisingly down-to-earth for a soap opera star and has a very accomplished resume. From ninja throwing stars to lizard wrangling, Maddie can do it all. Then there's Maddie's co-star, Rick Arlen, the worst man you will ever meet, and also apparently Sonic the Hedgehog. His main talents include inappropriately flirting with teenagers and just generally being slimier than a hug from a slug.
Hello, gorgeous. Where have you been all my life?
Yeah, it's pretty easy to understand why someone would send Rick death threats. But apparently women just can't resist Rick's good looks and charm, as at least one of his other exes also works on the TV set, Lillian Weiss, the show's director, who isn't paid enough to be nice to low-ranking nobodies like Nancy. Look, Lillian's already dealing with the glass ceiling. She shouldn't have to deal with amateur teen detectives as well.
Friend of Maddie's, and do I look like a tour guide?
The only woman in the game who hasn't dated Rick, that we know of, is Mildred "Millie" Strathorn, the eccentric owner of Worldwide Broadcasting and the studio's prop master.
Rick Arlen? I never heard of him. I don't just let anyone enter my prop room without showing me that they're clever enough to take on the responsibility, while I go and unpowder my nose.
Nancy also gets to know another one of Rick's exes, his ex-agent, Dwayne Powers, king of the cardigan. Dwayne has apparently fallen on hard times, but he's renting a pretty sizable office in downtown New York City, so he can't be too badly off. Also on the set is Ralph Gardino, an aptly named security guard with a fondness for donuts, the elusive stagehand Owen Spader, and William "Bill" Pappas, the producer of Light of Our Love.
No one breaks a contract with Bill Pappas. I'll kill him before he runs out on me.
A lot of what the player learns about these characters isn't told through dialogue. That's because a core mechanic of this game is looking at things. You click to approach an area, you click a hotspot, then you click an item to bring it closer to Nancy's face. But this is actually a great mechanic, I swear. This game, more than any other in the series, puts you in the role of Nancy Drew, a girl who can answer, solve, find, etc. You're not just looking, you are snooping. You are picking locks with a key card. You are hacking computers. You are looking in people's medicine cabinets, just like a real detective would. How bad must Maddie's BO be if she needs this much perfume? Each detail of each environment is purposeful, designed to reveal something about one of the characters or to give Nancy further insight into the mystery. Except in the prop room, but I'm not going to let the truth get in the way of a good story. Some of these are items embedded with fourth wall breaking riddles, such as this map which reads, "When gates are locked and paths are blocked, then look for other ways. The answer lies beneath your eyes to this perplexing maze." However, these types of meta clues are a lot less plentiful than in the first game in the series, Secrets Can Kill. Instead, in Stay Tuned for Danger, there's a lot more environmental storytelling, a concept which had not even been named when the game was released. Environmental storytelling, if you're unfamiliar with the term, is the art of arranging a careful selection of the objects available in a game world so that they suggest a story to the player who sees them, as defined by game developer. This kind of storytelling is typically used supplementally to flesh out a game's world, but in Stay Tuned for Danger, environmental storytelling is a huge part of the gameplay. The player is supposed to derive meaning from every item they see, taking each object as a small piece in a larger puzzle. Not to sound too much like Richard Topham, but you play the game in your mind. It's a true detective simulator that doesn't hold your hand, relying on you to make the connections and eliminations based on the clues you discover. As an example, take these maracas you find in Lillian's office. A fairly innocuous item at first glance. Perhaps Lillian uses them as an anger management tool, or maybe she just really likes mariachi music. But then you realize maracas are on the list of items missing from the prop room. If Lillian took the maracas, she could have stolen any of the other items on the list, such as the alarm clock Nancy receives in the mail accompanied by a threatening note, which makes her seem more suspicious. Or how about the French-English dictionary on the shelf in Dwayne's office? You might not think much of it. Dwayne has lots of books, unless you recall the note written in French found in Maddie's dressing room. Each phrase from that note can be found in the French-English dictionary, suggesting that Dwayne wrote it. You might ask yourself, is Dwayne resentful of Rick because he's in love with Maddie? This provides a motive for Dwayne, but is it the correct one, and is he the culprit? Every object placed in the environments in this game rewards further scrutiny. Some of them may be red herrings, but it's up to you as Nancy Drew to decide whether they are or not. This level of detail has the added benefit of making both the characters and the environments feel more realistic and multifaceted. The locations feel so much more lived in than those in later Nancy games, in which a room might only have one item for the player to interact with or look at. All this information gathering gains purpose in the last act. This is the only Nancy Drew game which expects you, the player, to independently put together the pieces of the mystery and accuse the correct culprit. You are presented with a list of names and are required to choose who you think did it. Was it Lillian, Dwayne, Maddie, Millie, William Pappas, or Rick himself? One of this game's flaws is that there are no consequences to accusing the wrong culprit. The game continues without any impact on the plot or the gameplay, no matter if you are correct or incorrect. But I still love being given this choice, and it provides gratification to those players who took playing detective seriously. I wish the observational detective aspects of Stay Tuned for Danger had been brought forward more into the later Nancy Drew games, instead of just the puzzles. Some of the games later in the series end up focusing too much on puzzles, neglecting the mystery aspect in the process. Take Danger by Design and the Shattered Medallion as examples. Both games with plot lines so confusing that it's hard to determine what the mystery actually is. Shattered Medallion has a whole puzzle palace to distract you from the fact the game doesn't have a cohesive plot. There are also more traditional puzzles in Stay Tuned for Danger, but a good number of these are optional, such as piecing together a torn note you find in Maddie's dressing room. You don't need to do these puzzles to complete the game, and finishing them doesn't give you a usable item, just more contextual information. Although I appreciate Stay Tuned for Danger's hands-off approach to gameplay in some respects, I do feel that these puzzles should offer something more in the form of a reward, else there's no motivation to complete them. I don't appreciate spending half an hour of my one precious life on Earth painstakingly decoding a message which, when deciphered, reads, "Life is like a box of chocolates." An additional issue I and other players have with this game is that a lot of essential information is hard to find, such as Millie's login info, the wire cutters, the packages on the chair at Maddie's house, and the doorknob to the prop room. This was no doubt intended to create a level of challenge, but it has the unfortunate side effect of leading to many opportunities for the uninitiated player to get stuck, sometimes permanently. It's basically a rite of passage to get soft-locked while playing Stay Tuned for Danger. Before I give my final thoughts, it would be remiss of me not to mention this game's soundtrack. Expertly composed by Kevin Manthei, the music for this game creates a distinct mood. There are different tracks which play depending on whether it is daytime or nighttime in-game, which atmospherically establishes the time of day. The daytime tracks are more upbeat, but still have an underlying edge of tenseness and suspicion, while the nighttime tracks feel more jazz-inspired and make exploring the hallways of the television studio at night very suspenseful. Chill beats to make you continuously glance over your shoulder. The song that plays while Nancy is attempting to defuse the bomb and during the endgame sequence, creatively titled End, emphasizes the urgency and danger of those situations perfectly. And if you played the lobby track at my funeral, I'd be popping out of my coffin just to dance. I'd be putting the groove in grave. It's incredible that the soundtrack does so much when you realize the length of all the songs combined totals less than 15 minutes. The minimalist gameplay of Stay Tuned for Danger isn't for everyone, and I think that, combined with the technical issues, have earned it its current, more mixed reputation. It's dead last in BuzzFeed's All 32 Nancy Drew Video Games ranked from worst to best list. Oh, the shame, the indignity. In modern gaming, the lack of much on-screen interactivity is considered an oddity, typically regulated to one single divisive genre, the walking simulator. Walking simulators are a genre of game that people tend to either love or hate, and I feel like Stay Tuned for Danger is similar in that way. It'll either appeal to you with its strange, clunky charm, or it won't. Personally, I love the Photoshop pictures of the plasticine-looking character models posed beside real people. I love Rick and Maddie's stiff, hammy acting. I love the esoteric poem which lets you decide whether it's day or nighttime in game. I love Dwayne's melodramatic villain monologue. I love the earnest, unadulterated camp of it all. I can understand if you don't like Stay Tuned for Danger, but you'll find me on my soapbox talking about how much I love it until I die. And probably after that if you play the lobby track at my funeral.
Don't take any wooden nickels, young lady.